Hello, I'm Nicole Hartley Bradford. This is called 10 out of 10 for the first 10 weeks of the Radical Honesty Project. Today is Tuesday, July 30th. I just discovered that the the recording for the call from Tuesday, July 23rd is missing. I cannot find it on my computer. I didn't load it up onto YouTube, and I'm stymied as to where to look for it. If you have any possibilities about how to find a recording from Zoom on a MacBook Pro, I can't find it. Zoom has changed, and so there's not a way to go into the recorded uh, list that I can find like there used to be. So if you have any possibilities for me, I'd be grateful, and I will look it up later. I was looking for the recording so that I could find out what page we're on because my bookmark came out of my book, and I do have a marking at the bottom of page 13, and I think that's it. I want to share something about my discoveries this week because I got to a part where I'm noticing things that I didn't used to notice, and it's scary. And my experience energetically is that as I notice this, it's like the ground that I exist on it starts to crumble, and I'm hungry for it to break through, for me to break through into a more, like, I don't know, to the next level of reality, really. It reminds me a little bit of a video game where you level up, and still there's this, like, will I die before I get to level up? Like, it feels like dying. And what it is that I'm noticing are things like are really about my purpose, my shadow purposes that are at work. And like I catch myself about to do something, and then I catch that, well, my gremlin catches it because I gave him this job, is to catch my shadow principles at work, like comparison and superiority and inferiority and like low drama victim making, persecutor making, trying to make someone be a rescuer. And it's been sobering, I'll say, to catch so many, like even right now, it's like I notice a little flavor of making myself a victim to my shadow principles. And oh, thank you, Shark. And this is awesome. It's awesome to be discovering just how to be noticing so much more clearly when my shadow principles are at work, because this empowers me then to shift and come onto the line of, like, what do I want, and not make shadow principles wrong or bad, not make me working according to my shadow principles wrong or bad, that rather it's, this isn't what I want. This doesn't create the consequences that I want. I don't want to be creating the consequences of competition, power differential, hierarchy, manipulation, and yeah, win lose. Yeah, I think this is really the cluster that are most often alive in me and at work in me. And yeah, it really speaks to what my bright principles are, love, possibility, clarity, integrity, empowerment, collaboration, healing and learning, discovery, adventure, high level fun. I think I am a little bit losing track of what my bright principles clearly are. Oh, I feel glad that I'll be, in 2 weeks from now, I will be in Poland. It'll be the first day, will it? Tuesday. It'll either be the first day or the day before the Expand the Box training starts. And then the next week will be a possibility lab, and the next week will be a possibility lab, and then the fourth week will be Archi Makers Fair. And I wonder who I will have become by then, by the time it's time to fly back. And if I'm honest, I'm terrified of flying. I've done it a lot. I've I've always been terrified of flying. There have been times when I was really feeling the fear, and there are times when I walk onto the plane as if I don't feel any fear at all. And yeah, I feel joy because I can feel the fear and let it just not use it to tense down and constrict, but use it to like be alive, to let it run freely in my system. And say, I feel fear because I feel scared about how the forest fires and the climate chaos might affect the sky and the airplane function. And fuck, it's like, and also it's like, yeah, noticing this thought where I still have that God might punish me for all I've done wrong by taking me out in a plane crash, or by, giving me like a massive injury. And it's like, yeah, there's a way I can use my fear to radically rely on the bright principle of Echo, the Earth's Coincidence Control Office, and of Gaia, the morphogenetic field of planet Earth that includes this atmosphere. And oh, this reminds me of how I've been doing some new experimenting with my bubble, my personal bubble of space. And it occurred to me that Gaia has a personal bubble of space. It's like her atmosphere, and there's this boundary where her the space of Gaia becomes the space of space, and that there's a distinction, and her the atmospheric boundary is not super, like, it's not like, here's, I mean, if you zoom in on it, it doesn't become this like distinct line. It's more of a zone, where I want to find out more how this goes for a planet. Mm, in case there's any tips and hints that are relevant to how it works for a human being who starts as a planet, as a consumer, well, or who a boxed human being who becomes a planet, and then can become can stellate, can become a star. And I've been working with my personal bubble of space because another thing that I've discovered is just how often I have somebody else's information and energy in my space, and it's not my essence, it's not me, it's contamination, it's this enmeshment. And I got from Aunt Chloe Destremo, like, just happened to be in a space where I got to hear about this experiment to snap a bubble outside of my bubble, and um, of a person whose energy is in my space, and then use my anger and fear and just like decontaminate their energy and information into the bubble and send it back to them, just. And I've been doing this, and I think it's working. I think something new is happening where it's like, no, that's not my thought, that's, and somebody else. and also how distinct this is from being like, okay, well, I don't have a possibility right now. What would someone else do? And I think of people that are with me on the path, and uh, I can, instead of like giving my center to them or letting their energy and information contaminate my bubble, I can be clear. It's like, what possibilities do I get from the relational space I have with them without letting this contamination happen? Yeah, I feel glad about that. Yeah, and there's a little bit of this superiority thing. Like, my gremlin's a little bit like, oh, people are going to think that's good and cool and bright, and that you're amazing, and you know, and and better than them. I hate that. Yeah, and I have this clarity to say something like, yeah, will you, like, I want, this is so cool. This is, Echo, you fucking rock. In Heart Gym today, the experiment that Jacqueline O'Neill brought was to relate to the person in your space as family, as even if they're a total stranger, just relate to them as if they are family. And I ended up in a space with someone I've never been in a space with before. I I've only seen them once before in the Heart Gym, and I was like, okay, she is my sister, and I navigated in the space like kind of differently than maybe I would have if this had not been the experiment. And I started to notice evidence that yes, she is family. We are part of the same family somehow. This family of edge workers becoming Gaian, uh, and then I got another distinction. Again, I happened to overhear it or read it when it was directed at someone else. This about relating to people not as friends, but relating to them as witches and wizards and sorcerers, and as and relating to them as collaborators. And this gave me such gold when I think of so many relational spaces where I feel scared to really show up as my sorcerer witch, becoming Gaian, bold, audacious woman of earth, ambassador of archiarchy, and because I might lose them as a friend, or they might be like, she's too much, or they might just freak out and leave, or project on me. She thinks she's so great. This is one of the trigger sentences that have been alive for me for decades, and this possibility to relate to the archetypal being on the other side of the relational space as a mystery, and as still clearly as an archetypal being who comes from one of the four lineages, and probably a combination of warrior, earth guardian, of sorcerer, witch, of lover, community weaver, of game world builder, of intimacy journeyer, of you know whatever the combination is, evolutionary village weaver, or mm, there's just so many. And to be like, this is who's actually there. They're not my friend, they're not my family member, they're not my, I will not put a label on you. You let me know who you are. I want to know what is your archetypal lineage. And then let's collaborate from there. So, yeah, not this superiority, inferiority thing, and not this nicely labeled boxes of who you are, like, and who you were, yes, last time I saw you, or when I knew you, whatever, 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 5 years ago. Like, you've grown into something. I've grown into something. How about we discover what collaborative possibilities exist? Oh, I love it. Okay. And I'm reading on page 13 at the bottom of the introduction to Brad Blanton's brilliant book, Radical Honesty. It says, ultimately, we can unite the real world of experience in the here and now with the world we know about from memory and interpretation. Damn. The secret of this union is to release energy by living out loud rather than spending all of our energy trying to control ourselves and others through withholding. The secret, in other words, is telling the truth. Growth into the personal power of telling the truth is the key to life beyond adolescent moralism. That's exactly what I was talking about. This adolescent moralism of I'm better. You're like, where do you fit into the status uh, hierarchy? Who's good? Who's bad? Who's right? Who's wrong? Psychotherapy is one method of rescue from being choked to death by concepts which are learned for the sake of efficiency. Concepts are learned for the sake of efficiency and to avoid unwanted experience. As I said, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. The effectiveness of psychotherapy, he says in italics, depends entirely on the client's commitment to telling the truth. And this applies to the client's behavior inside and outside the therapy room. Wow, that is so similar to what's possible in a space is determined by how a space is held. Because it's not only the commitment to the client's truth telling, it's also commitment on the space holder, the therapist's part, to telling the truth. And this is, yeah, this is really to be the space holder, to be a space holder for another space holder. My commitment to truth telling, this is so scary for me. This is what's so scary for me, especially as I look toward being in Poland, which is to be a space holder with other space holders and to not give my authority and be like, I just shut up because they said this or they want that or they see me like this, to just be like, this is what I see. This is what I have. This is my question. This is my declaration. This is what I choose. Oh, God, help me. Okay. There are many, what do I honestly mean by God help me? Yeah, echo be with me. Shark, you got your job list right? Yeah, let's refresh it. I have all these new jobs for Shark that I've been writing down. Some when I remember it, new jobs and deals with Shark. Catch himself making me/us superior to men and to others and tell me. Catch himself letting this slide, schedule it to do 30 minutes twice a day to do lab exercises, yoga exercises, whatever, and go for a walk or a bike ride every day. Catch when he is wiping me out, remembering when I'm letting him wipe me out, to remember to create, as in the breakout rooms in Heart Gym. I don't remember what that was about. Creating what we want using the assumption they want more time than they want to be with me. Ah, yeah. Yeah, catching these projections and assumptions. Catch me and tell me when I'm giving my center to a dark magician, especially who's using superiority and sexual energy to get me to give them my center and go into the swamp. Yeah, this is some of it. Okay. Yeah, there's a little flavor there of, yeah, I started to like get small. Yeah, I started to get small, noticing how many jobs I have for my gremlin that he, he isn't doing, and I'm remembering I'm not remembering. This is the next level of gremlin like training. Is this isn't a problem. This isn't wrong. This doesn't make me bad. This doesn't mean it's not working. Just go, 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 go. There are many ancient systems of thought dealing with the stages of growth beyond lying and posing. Yeah. Most historical, spiritual, religious, mythological teachings are based on the psychological growth of a few wise people who marked out a path for others to follow. In our age, the opportunity has come for all of us to learn the whole path. If we humans are to be saved from ourselves individually as well as collectively, we have to learn more about the art and science of speaking the truth. None of us can do it without a lot of help from each other. Yeah, and just think about how those ancient systems become systems that to give my authority to instead of having my authority and being honest about what's happening right now. And I noticed this, oh God, this is so scary. I noticed this when I was reading one of the new websites, or new to me. I had not seen it before. It was about game world demolition. And I I was like, holy shit, I am in the early stages of this demolition of a game world. I'm too scared to even say what it is, in case someone from that game world hears me and says, oh my God, she's here to destroy us. And this is not it. This is not about destroying a game world or anyone in it. It's about like deconstructing the memetics that hold a game world in place that is not working. That is, I mean, it's working to the purpose of the game world. For example, I can be honest now. Wow. Okay. This game world is a church parish. So it is one church. It is the game world of a church that I have been going to. And I have been I've been judging myself for going and not doing this game world demolition moves, not being honest, like not speaking up in the middle of a sermon and saying, wait, what do you mean by that? Or, or wait a minute, like, how does this go for you? Because, don't interrupt the preacher. It was typically a white man at the front, and we're all it's like, it's not a circular structure. It's not a torus field where every person has authority, even though it is one of these ancient systems that deals with stages of growth beyond lying and posing. It's, the kingdom of God is within. uh, Choose life that you may live in the love of the Lord. And yet this structure of the game world is still a patriarchal hierarchy that keeps the archetypal, I don't know, information, or it keeps people in their box of like, oh, I'm just a parishioner, or I am the priest, or I am, uh, you know, uh, what's it called when a priest does pastoral care? It's like, I'm not a pastoral caregiver. Fuck that. Anyone can be a pastoral caregiver. We don't have to wait for it to be, you know, the priest's day on for someone in the parish who needs a held space to grieve something to get the grief space they need. Like, I can hold space for that. And yet it's like, okay, uh, there are relational spaces to take care of. There are conversations to have, proposals to make, so that this I don't turn myself into someone who's projected on as just uh, uh, yeah, like a destructive force or an annihilation force. Unless that's like, yeah, bring it on. We want that. We want that kind of transformation in this game world. And where did I start with this? Yeah, discovering from reading this website that I am in the early stages of like creating possibilities for this game world to deconstruct itself, to be demolished, so that something more true to the ancient system, that deals more true to the here and now of bringing this radical honesty in as a, wow, it would be like, instead of someone from the outside demolishing the game world, it's like each of the people who cares about the bright principles being at work in the space could be demolishing it from the inside and expanding this game world out into something more brilliant and stellated, more brilliant. Yeah, like this planet turning into a star, like this boxed human turning into a brilliant human, like this game world turning into a brilliant game world, instead of into a box that people go in as boxes, and all these limitations are at work because of all the aspects to that. Hey, page 14, summary of the introduction. Okay. My clients and I have been learning from each other that the primary requirement for getting beyond adolescence is telling the truth. This book deals with the whole problem of telling the truth, the difficulty in telling the truth, how it hurts one not to tell the truth, how we're all liars, and how it works against our self-interest to lie. It is common for people to ruin their lives and kill themselves through withholding. It is normal for people to stop growing and die from the accumulation of mild stress disorders over time. Being overweight, uptight, a heavy smoker, a heavy drinker, a non-exerciser, or some combination thereof, are the direct result of a more central ailment of the mind. These deaths come from remaining enmeshed in the mind, trapped. These deaths come from remaining enmeshed in the mind, trapped in lies. Escape from the trap of lies is in learning and improving through constant practice, just like learning to play golf or tennis, the ability to tell the truth. Like, this is building inner structure, building, because it's not so much the physical moves of golf or tennis as it is the relational moves, the energetic moves, the mental moves, of telling the truth. We are all the walking wounded. Most of us are still interested in clarity and the truth, but at the same time we're interested in making a case for how our childhood was worse than average and how we're better than everyone else. Even though it's so obvious my childhood was probably better than average, and I'm not better than other people. The conventional way to suffer through life is to build a case for ourselves. This is what you get taught to value in Catholic parochial school, any parochial school and law school, as well as all other schools, not just not as efficiently as in those first two schools. I would say the first school is the nuclear family with its hierarchy and its lying about what I'm really feeling, what I'm really thinking, and all the shutting down that happens in that first school. And then going to any other school where that continues, and this whole illusion that you will survive, you will be safe if you get a diploma and get a job and a career, and then you will live happily ever after by following the fucking checklist. But at the same time, we are all participants in a project to find out what being alive is. And when we lie or hide or avoid essential tactics in case building, we don't discover anything new about life, and we don't help others discover anything new. Being interested in this common human project of discovery is an important part of the great conversation in which we humans have been engaged for several thousand years. For my own good, he writes, I want to hang out with people who want to find out what it would be like to live in such a way as to leave no unspoken words, no unfinished business. I want to be with people who are hungry for the truth, who want to spend time learning and sharing what they have learned rather than defending their images or reputations. I want to be with people hungry for the truth, who want to spend time learning and sharing what they have learned rather than defending their images or reputations. This book is for that group of people that is growing larger every day, whose thirst for knowledge and willingness to share overrides their defense against embarrassment. Wow, thanks, Brad. I'm writing for people who want to grow beyond the adolescence that currently passes for adulthood, for the couples who are fed up with acting and blaming, for individuals interested in integrity or wholeness over moralism and fitting into roles. This book is an antidote to that conventional suffering. I hope it will piss you off and hurt you and inspire you and break your mind's hold on your spirit. Part 1, the being. Okay, that's where I will pick up in approximately 5 weeks. 6 weeks. Damn, that's a long time. Okay, so here's what I'll be doing in the next couple of weeks. I will be choosing a day and time for these calls to continue. I will be creating an intensive series where basically what I've been learning so far is going to be, I'm turning around and I'm delivering 5 weeks of 2-hour calls once a week, plus a Telegram group where you can be coming if you want, and it'll cost money, into a space where I hold and I practice being radically honest with you while we practice being radically honest with each other in this intensive 5-week series. It's like a intensive introduction to radical honesty. And what I propose is that if you see the poster, if you hear this video, if you hear one of the other of these 10 videos of me reading this introduction, wow, it just turned out so perfectly. If you want this, let me know. If you don't want it, or if I schedule it on a day where you just can't come, you can also join the Telegram group that already exists, the Radical Honesty Project. And I will still be doing these 45-minute calls once a week, and you can come to them too. So far, there's been 9 calls recorded and shared on YouTube. Once last week's and this week's are on there. So far there's 7. You could be watching these while I'm in Poland and deciding if you want to join the intensive or if you want to join the Radical Honesty Project, if you haven't already joined that. If you want to invite people to it, please do. I am so on fire for this. I'm loving it. I'm scared shitless about it. That's not true. I feel scared, and I feel huge joy that I've done Rage Club and Fear Club and Rage Club Space Holder training and Fear Club Space Holder training. They just seem all like training to hold this space, to hold this radical honesty space, this intensive series that I will be back to tell you about in the not too distant future. And damn, I gotta pee so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna end this space, end this call right here, right now. And hopefully I don't lose it like I lost last week's space, which I am determined to find. It was a great time. Goodbye for now. May the Earth's Coincidence Control Office be with you. May you have your grounding cord so that Gaia can be in communication with you directly. May the force be with you. May the bright forces, may the archetypal forces be with you. And may you become ever more radically honest so that you can come alive and live in ways that have hitherto been impossible. Amen and alleluia. Goodbye for now.